Prince Khalid Abdullah, owner of racing superstar Frankel, has created one of the most enduringly successful breeding operations in the world. Banstead Manor in Newmarket is one of his stud farms where his horses have their second career after racing. Stud manager Simon Mockridge gave us a guided tour.
Prince Khalid has really concentrated on the breeding side over the last 30 years. You know, very early on in his career he was active in the yearling market and spent a tremendous amount of money. And at that same time he bought an awful lot of very, very good proven mares, which have ended up now being the sort of catalyst for where we are now. You know, breeding is like raising a family at the end of the day. You have to understand, you know, the little traits and the problems that each individual family bring to you, and also their strengths.
So this is?
Dancily.
How old is he? I heard that's 16, is that right?
He is 16, yes.
He's in great nick.
Problem with all of these things is, you know, once a horse starts to get established, is they're almost middle-aged.
Yes.
And, you know, now that he's probably now recognised as probably one of the leading sires in England anyway, along with Oasis Dream.
Yep.
But it takes them some time to actually get themselves established, and then before you know where they are, they're 19 and 20.
He was a very good racehorse, but so you could argue he's an even better stallion, isn't he?
Yes, I mean it was quite interesting when he retired to stud. What we have to remember is, although his dam now is heralded as probably the best broodmare in the world, you know, having produced 5 Group 1 winners and 7 Group 1 horses in total, he actually was the very first of her progeny.
Was it?
And although he didn't manage to win a Group 1, he was placed 7 times at Group 1 level, and he always raced in the very highest of company. And he was tough, sound and genuine, and that's what we tend to see in his stock. Ascot was testament to that. We saw Bated Breath just beaten over 5 furlongs. You saw Fallen in Love winning over a mile, and then you saw Thomas Chippendale winning over a mile and a half.
Absolutely.
So, you know, he gives you a full range. It just depends on the type of mare that you send to him. You see, the one thing about this horse was, when he did retire to stud, because he didn't come with a Group 1 profile, he started life at a very low fee. He was only 8,000 the first year he came to stud. And he's actually driven himself all the way to the upper levels, and that's based on his success. He didn't really in the early years have the strength and depth of mares that we're going to see with Oasis Dream.
Right, and obviously it would be, I know you may or may not have it, but it would be the same with the Frankel. He will start off at the very top because of his racing record, won't he?
Well, he's got a marvellous racing record, he's got a marvellous pedigree, and it's only right that he'll probably get some of the most choice mares around.
Yeah.
This is Oasis Dream.
I should say, you wouldn't get a much better looking horse, would you?
No, I mean, from a stallion manager's point of view, the moment that he actually came to stud, he was the perfect horse to have. He's got everything, you know. He was champion 2-year-old. He was champion sprinter. He's got the looks, he's got the conformation. He's immensely powerful, great second thigh, great quarters to him. Very good through the shoulder. And for a sprinter, he's a very athletic horse, great walker, shows himself exceptionally well. And the benefit that he had over Dancily, for example, is that he was popular from day one with the commercial breeders. And today that is so important to get the horses off to a great start. And he'd covered over 100 mares for the first 4, 5, 6 seasons without having to have his feed dropped, which is very, very unusual in this industry. And his yearlings and his foals sold exceptionally well. He was then champion first season sire, which of course puts you straight up at the top, and he's continued that way. He's leading British based sire last season, as he was 2 seasons ago. Dancily was leading sire in 2010. So we've been very fortunate the last 3 years.
And although he was obviously champion sprinter, he's a really, really speedy horse himself, and probably as a general rule he gets a lot of quick horses, but he doesn't only get quick horses, does he?
No, again, but his pedigree actually shows you that he should get a little bit further. I mean, physically he's very much like his father. You know, he's built like a sprinter. He has a great strength and quality of his quarters, and he has a great way with him. But within his pedigree, there are elements that suggest that he'll get further, and you know, Midday is a great example of that.
Absolutely. Again, really good-natured.
No, he's a very good boy. We call him Brad Pitt.
Yeah, he is. I can see why. He is rather nice.
Do you want to see the mares in the field? Both in foal together.
They went at the same time, and
Midday was covered on Valentine's Day, and Kind was covered on the 16th. And they came back at the same time.
Absolutely, and they're in the same condition. They've formed quite a bond, Midday and Kind.
They have, as I said to you. I mean, what's quite unusual is if the mares had been on our farms, they would have been separate because one was a maiden and one was a barren mare. But as they went to Coolmore together, and the value of the mares, and we tend to have an understanding with Coolmore that we keep all our mares together in one barn. And whilst they were there, they ran out together. They were the only two in the field. So since then, they've become inseparable.
And that's just been natural. They're
just natural, absolutely.
Midday and Kind, they have a pecking order, or are they sort of equals?
Well, Midday always came with quite a feisty reputation. Her mother is slightly like that. But since she's been back at stud, we haven't seen that at all. And really, I would say that Kind is the dominant figure.
And this would be her 5th foal coming up, is that correct?
Yes, she's got the 3 currently in training, 4 currently in training. Morpheus is the 2-year-old with Sir Henry.
Yep.
It's by Oasis Dream, and then she has an Oasis Dream yearling. The pedigree of this mare suggests that she should get staying animals.
Yeah.
But by the same token, when you look at her physically, you can understand where Frankel has got his power and speed from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she's an immensely powerful mare herself. I think when you look at Frankel, there's an awful lot of this mare in him.
Yeah.
You know, he has that great power behind the saddle, and he has a very similar hind leg to her.
You were saying the signs early on were positive. I'm not saying you thought, this is going to be the best racehorse of all time. That would be ever so bright. But you thought he did stand out. You said even when he was here, when he was first foaled. Is that correct?
Yes, he was born here. And what I would say about him is he was a tremendously well-balanced individual. And as a foal, from day one, he was almost like a foal that was a week old. He took everything in his stride. He was very easy to deal with. He seemed to know all about life before he did, really.
On to Midday, you say she settled in well to life here, and I mean, you can't tell whether they're going to be a good mother, but she gives all the signs?
And she gives all the right signs at the moment. She's nice and settled, she's got great attitude, wonderful outlook to her, and so far so good. She had a little bit of feistiness when she was in training, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that. She needed that to be the high-class race mare that she was. Yes, and I hope she'll take to the maternal side of it just as readily as she did racing.
When will they give birth, roughly? When can we expect these?
Well, probably the 2nd week of January, so we all look forward to that.